The British East India Company, initially traders, gradually gained political control in India. Their rule, spanning from the Battle of Plassey in 1757, marked a turning point. This period saw the company establish its dominance, exploiting India's resources and consolidating its power. Early resistance emerged in various forms, often localized and sporadic. Peasant revolts like the Sannyasi Rebellion and the Chuar Uprising reflected growing discontent against economic exploitation. Religious figures often led these uprisings, highlighting the intertwined nature of religion and resistance in early colonial India. These early forms of resistance, though ultimately suppressed, were significant. They demonstrated the spirit of defiance against foreign rule, laying the groundwork for future movements. The British, through their policies, inadvertently sowed the seeds of their eventual departure. The introduction of Western education, intended to create a class of Indians loyal to the British, ironically became a tool for political awakening. Exposure to liberal ideas like democracy and nationalism fueled aspirations for self-rule. The 19th century witnessed significant socio-economic changes in India under British rule. The introduction of railways and postal services, while intended to strengthen colonial administration, also facilitated communication and national integration. However, British policies driven by economic self-interest devastated India's traditional industries. The ruin of artisans and the growth of landless labourers created widespread economic hardship. This period also saw the rise of social reform movements. Reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy campaigned against social evils like sati and advocated for widow remarriage and girls' education. These movements, while addressing social issues, also contributed to a growing sense of Indian identity and national consciousness. The Mutiny of 1857, sparked by the controversial Enfield rifle cartridges greased with animal fat, became a watershed moment. Though brutally suppressed, it marked the first major uprising against British rule, uniting Indians from different regions and backgrounds. The aftermath of the 1857 mutiny saw the British Crown assume direct control over India. This period witnessed the emergence of organized nationalist movements. The Indian National Congress, founded in 1885, initially focused on demanding greater Indian participation in governance through constitutional means. Leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji and Gopal Krishna Gokhale advocated for reforms within the existing framework. However, growing discontent with the pace of reforms and increasing awareness of British exploitation led to the rise of radical nationalism. Leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, and Lala Lajpat Rai, known as the Lal Bal Pal trio, advocated for complete independence. They mobilized the masses through newspapers, religious festivals, and Swadeshi campaigns. The partition of Bengal in 1905, a blatant attempt to divide and rule, further fueled nationalist sentiment and led to widespread protests and the rise of extremist nationalism. The early 20th century marked the beginning of the Gandhian era in Indian politics. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, returning from South Africa in 1915, transformed the Indian nationalist movement. His philosophy of satyagraha, non-violent resistance based on truth and moral force, resonated with the masses. Gandhi mobilized millions of Indians, from peasants to intellectuals, in the struggle for independence. Under Gandhi's leadership, the Indian national movement gained unprecedented momentum. Mass movements like the non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement challenged British authority on a massive scale. Meanwhile, the Muslim League, under Muhammad Ali Jinnah, increasingly demanded a separate Muslim state. The communal tensions, exploited by the British, culminated in the partition of India in 1947. India finally achieved independence on August 15, 1947, but the joy was overshadowed by the tragedy of partition and communal violence. The long struggle for freedom had come at a heavy price.